If you want to go ahead and start the music, Sheila.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Arts Virtual Music Symposium. This symposium is brought to you by LEAP, Linking Everyday Extraordinary People. The Key of G, Everett's Natural Beauty and School and Salon. Hug Detroit Day. Aduni's Event Planning Bootcamp Academy. And in Bayou, it's not business as usual. Tonight's discussion features keyboard players and their instruments. Our master keyboard panelists for this evening are Jimmie Blues, Alina Morr, Gerrard Gibbs, Chris Codish, Evan Mercer,
Yeah, Mercer.
Charles Greene,
Yeah, Charles.
Louis Resto,
Yeah.
and your moderator for the evening is Phillip J. Hale, also known as PhilHarmonic. So sit back, relax, learn, and enjoy. Phillip, it's all yours.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the City of Arts Music Symposium. Like she said, this evening we're featuring a keyboard panel. Typically, a keyboard panel includes musicians scattered about the room on opposite sides, but tonight we have them all together. And so to get the thing rolling, I'm going to start doing a little self-intro. I'm a Detroit keyboard player from way back when. Started playing when I was 10, and I moved forward playing in church, and then went a little stint in the Navy, then did more church and did bands. So, I mean, I could speak about all the bands I played with. It's been a lot of people, and I wouldn't want to leave people out. But at this point, right now, I'm playing with Thornetta Davis Blues Band. I'm still playing with the Mighty Fun House. I've been doing work with Tasha Owens, doing work with Sky Covington. So there's a lot of stuff. I would not want to go into details about myself. It's going to come up during the course of the broadcast, but I play with a lot of folks. I'm a music mercenary, and a lot of the musicians in Detroit have that status behind them because we play a lot of different genres and a lot of different styles, and people call up and you end up playing with this guy today and that guy tomorrow. But I'd say one of the other major things about me is that I'm a listener, a music listener more than I'm a musician, I would say. I'm a very hard listener. I listen to different genres of music. I mean, one moment I could have a Carpenter Zone. I go to another moment, I'm playing Ornette Coleman. So wow. I like to hear the differences in music. And I think that's really what's most exciting about playing, is to get people's ear. I'll give you one story that kind of would size up about where I'm coming from with that. And it's gonna feature one individual who everybody knows to be rather iconic. It's gonna be George Clinton. Years ago, I used to play with Pat Lewis. She was part of Hot Buttered Soul with Isaac Hayes. Well, she came back, she was doing background vocals with George Clinton for a while. And so she did a show down at Shane Park, which is now called the Aretha. It's the Aretha, what is the Aretha something, right? It's the Aretha now, but it was Shane Park back in the day. And it was a blues show. and she had George Clinton in the house as special guests. Well, I ended up playing along with George Clinton's band that day, which was very exciting for me. I've grown up listening to Parliament's Funkadelic. That first album was the first album I ever bought. And so now I'm on a show and I'm going up to play behind these songs. Well, that's the kind of thing that I do. I've played along with some of those songs on my own, listening, a lot of listening. And so we go up and I was saying, how are we going to do this thing? How am I going to play with George Clinton on a blues show? Guys are doing all kind of shuffles and things like that. And I'm thinking, wow, how is that going to go over here? A guy coming right out of the sky, just doing funk real hard. But as it turns out, with iconic musicians, you get iconic response. And George came up and the crowd went from blues to funk, and I think it was 2.5 seconds. They were right in there. And I thought that was really great. Okay, good. I got George Clinton and I'm playing along with that. So that was my first big day with George. Fast forward to, 5-6 years ago, somewhere in that zone, I was doing a show with Thornetta Davis at the DIA, Detroit Institute of Arts here in Detroit. And George is backstage, on this show, he was going to do a thing about storytellers. So we were the band, we were opening up for George, and George is in the house, he's backstage and like that, and we're playing our set. And to end that set, I told Thorne, I said, hey Thorne, let's do Funky Dollar Bill, George Clinton tune. So that's what we did. We did Funky Dollar Bill, and while we're playing, I'm looking over because he's on the side of my eye over here. And I look over, I see him standing behind the curtain. He's jumping around. He's geeked up behind the curtain. And we finally grooved him up enough where he came out and joined us on the stage. I was very, very happy for that moment. I can't tell you, because there was no bass player on the gig and I had to hold down keyboard bass. And I was so happy that we could entice him to come out and funk on stage with us. Now we're going to fast forward one more time here. About another year or so after that, he was in town somehow, just kind of grooving around town like he might do from time to time. He was hanging out with a buddy of mine named Hollywood, and Hollywood brings him over to the Harbor House while I was playing that particular night. And so they're sitting out at the table, a couple tables in front of the stage, and me and my wife, Sheila, we're on the stage, we're playing, we're doing our gig. And I look out in the audience at one point, we're grooving on whatever song it was. We're grooving, and I look out there, I see George, he's banging on the table. He's banging on the table, he's in the groove. So his excitement for music is kind of like mine. When I go and see the folks on this keyboard panel, when I see these guys play, I get excited about what they do. I'm always trying to get better. And the best I can do is put an ear on it and then go and steal from the people on this panel any kind of way I can. So I'm totally a music mercenary. I'm a big listener, but I love to play, and what I'm doing in music, I do in order to increase my own enjoyment and hopefully groove up the band. And from that point of view, I'd like to get the audience to groove with us from where we're coming from on stage as a whole. So that's really my approach to any kind of gig I ever do. Even if the musicians are not totally on that page, I still try to sound groove them to get them to a spot where we can all be on the same page as players. Okay, now that's enough about me. Now I'm going to bring some people into the panel, starting with Jim David, who I've been knowing for a long time, great buddy of mine. He's done things, he's come up through, studied with Bess Banya and Harold McKinney and Al Haig. He's played, who played with Bird. So I want to bring Jimmie David into the picture. Come on in, Jimmy. Jimmie David, aka Jimmie Blues. Come on into the, are you turned on? I can't hear him. Can we get, let's turn that mic on.
I think he's unmuted.
Are you unmuted now, Jimmy? Are you unmuted?
Cable's unplugged. Now it's muted.
All right. That's to unmute. Can you unmute?
Is it the headset he's wearing, maybe?
I don't know. Is your headset acting up? Okay, I'm going to come back to Jimmy. I'm going to go to Chris Codish. Chris, you're in the mix, right?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Chris, I've been knowing you for a long time. Oh,
Yes,
my
sir.
God. In fact, I think when I first met you, it was the days at the music menu.
Mid-90s, probably.
You had that group that you were doing with Terry Thunder and those guys, man. Just tell the group a little bit about yourself and where you're coming from.
Sugarfoot. Yeah, I'm also a Detroit-based keyboard player. I grew up in Detroit and, started when I was around 5, had regular classical lessons. And around 13, I had a transcription of a ZZ Top solo.
We can't hear him.
You can't hear me?
We hear him.
You can hear, okay.
We hear Chris.
All right.
If you can turn your mic up a little bit, Chris, that would be
Sure.
helpful. We can hear you, but you're kind of
Here.
low.
How is this better?
Yeah.
Much better.
Perfect.
All right. Let me get right on my DJ voice. But yeah, I just, I've been playing around and I kind of learned how to improvise from a ZZ Top guitar transcription. I've discovered the blues scale, and started to, mess around with that and learn how to improv and started joining bands and all that. And I got the good fortune to play with Thornetta as well as Johnny Bassett and was Johnny Bassett for years, and Larry McRae, Lucky Peterson, and just kind of been full-time since I got held up at the bike store job I had when I was in my early 20s, and I thought there was a sign to maybe go into music. And so I've just been playing around, and I like all of us here on a mercenary sort of panel that just kind of play a lot of different styles because I love it, and also because it's what you have to do to survive in it in a certain aspect. But I think that's the city too, that we have so many different types of music and really great players here. You get spoiled. You go to other cities and it's like, there are other good scenes, but it's just kind of inspires you to bring your game up. So
It's so you've done Alexander Zanjak here, who is
Yep.
also rather iconic in the city.
Yep.
A lot of people know that music, and I think as a result, you end up doing Bob James.
yeah, with
Yeah.
Alex, we played with everybody: Kenny G, Jeff Lorber, Bob James, Kirk Whalum, Angela Bofill. We played with a ton of people, so it was a great experience in that regard. To David Sanborn, a bunch of people. I played with Hiram Bullock for a couple of years. I was his last keyboard player before he
Right.
passed. That was
right.
probably my favorite gig.
I remember when all that went down, man. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, I got it from the East Town. I got it from the Your Place Lounge. I got
Yeah.
picked for that gig. It didn't happen for a year later, but that's where we initially met at a little dump on the east side of Warren, east of Cadieux.
The iconic YPL.
Yeah,
I remember he was coming. I think he was coming from a gig playing with Les McCann down at the festival that day.
yeah.
And Paul Carey, the guitarist, he brought him over. Him and bass player from Weather Report that came in after Jocko. I can't remember. What was his name? The bass player used to play with
Victor Bailey.
Victor Bailey.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So both of them,
Nice.
they came down there together. Victor didn't come up and perform, but Hiram, who said, "Oh, I'm not going to perform," he did. He came up
Yeah.
and he joined in, man. And you guys
I think
locked
it was
everything.
Brothers Groove was playing. I think we were.
Yeah.
And he sat in and we hung out. And then a year later, he was back in town and he remembered me, needed a keyboard player, and called me. I was in Ann Arbor and with Laith El-Sadi actually, and he said, "Well, can you come jam with us?" And I hauled ass down to Northern Lights and got the gig. After sitting in and playing with him. So, and he took me all over Japan, Russia, Germany, the Axis of Evil 1943 tour, and a bunch of other places. So, a great experience.
Outstanding. Okay, I'm going to move on to Jim. Jim, is your mic working? That
No, we still don't hear you. If you check your chat, Jim, I'm going to drop some information. You can stay on your computer, but you can call in from your phone so that we can hear you. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the phone number in the chat for you to call in,
We
because the
totally
audio is
had
not
him.
connecting,
We
okay?
totally had him, but he's not inside there now. We're gonna have to come back. Okay, I'll move into Charles Greene, another really good buddy of mine from way back when. We've hit the circuit, all kind of gigs, stuff that he was playing on, and I finally ended up in the midst of. Charles, how's your mic doing?
Oh, I'm in. I'm there.
Okay, oh, good, outstanding.
Whatever I'm in. I'm a native Detroiter. I've always played. Sort of an autodidact when it comes to the piano. I don't have any classical training, and I didn't go through a university jazz program, so I'm one of those.
Welcome to the club. All right, there we go.
Old timey style.
Mhm.
And so my biggest influence were the jazz pianists of the mid-century pianists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then not just the pianists, but everything, coming up. I was born in 1950, so that puts me at 71, a month older than Stevie. So you can imagine we probably had a lot of the same influences growing up in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I've traveled a bit, worked with some of the Motown acts on the road, Spinners, Four Tops, Jimmy Ruffin. Let's see, I've worked every bar on the west side of Detroit and half of the ones on the east side over the past 50 years. Let's see what else.
We scoured the 6-7 mile Puritan, Finkel. We've scoured those zones.
Yeah. And so that's and then over time my styles became more polished, and to the point that now I play for a lot of times I play for the carriage trade. Just play a lot of old standards, stuff like that. And then I have my studio here, and I do a lot of funky music that if I can, whatever I can come up with.
Yeah.
So that keeps me busy.
Outstanding. I see you've done stuff with Marcus and
Mm-hmm.
Laura Lee.
I played with Laura Lee back in the 70s.
Yeah, I had a connection with her. I used to play at a church, 25th Street Church of God in Christ, and her son, Corky, we called him Corky.
Okay.
He was a drummer, and I met her as a result of that association. But I never did any gigs with her back then. What was she like?
Well, she was cool. We worked, kind of like Chitlin circuit stuff, Flint, Saginaw, that kind of thing. It was just regional stuff with her at that time. 'Cause she had a couple of hits. Stand Up and Fight for Your Love Rights. That was
There we go. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move to the panel. Let's see. Also on the panel, we've got, do we have Jim David yet?
Hello.
There we go.
Okay, I figured it out. I'm not totally computer illiterate, which is a good thing.
We're keyboard players after all.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys talking brings back a lot of memories also. And I remember Juanita McCrae, the 300-pound blues singer. Our first gig with Juanita McCrae was with Francisco Mora, who had just finished playing with Sun Ra. So it was a strange band. Francisco Mora on drums, Leo Ria on bass, and an old school blues musician, Walter Hamilton. And they never told me one word about anything. I just started playing, and I played with them for about 5 years. Then for blues, later on, I joined Motor City Josh's band. We had one rehearsal, and this is why I love Motor City. We played one song. He goes, just come to the gig. So I came to the gig thinking I could just do the stuff that I did with Juanita McCrae. But blues had evolved since then. It had become more urban with lots of varieties in the 1-4-5s. So Josh was using all kinds of voicings that I wasn't hip to. So I had to go over there and say, show me, and that's always a very good thing to have, the humility to say, show me. Yeah. And I've had such a blast with him through the years. I'll tell you the reason I love playing with him so much. On many gigs, I would play this from Mozart. And guitar and the bass would be going while I'm playing, and people loved it. People loved it. So we had fun. And so through the years, it's been a lot of stuff with Larry Smith and Rod Hicks, who I really feel like writing a book about.
Yeah, Hicks.
Because
Yeah.
there was never a dull moment. And I also played in a new age band, the H-Men, and we played all over town, Harpo's and everything.
A
And
new
so,
age band at Harpo's?
yeah, this was when New Age was in the 80s. I mean, New Wave, sorry. Not
Okay,
New
New
Age.
Wave. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
So, you know, I like to have a very varied musical experience. I love playing jazz, but lately in my years now, I want to focus on my technique. So I went back to classical music and realized that to play the greatest piano composer of all time, Chopin, you have to work on your hand, how you play every note and how one note goes to the other. So when you play these scale passages, you're not going and accenting. You have to play them all nice and smooth. So I love doing that. And I played it in public, and it's just another thing to add to my bag of tricks. But the one thing I feel good about is I'm the type of person, if I don't like something, that's what I listen to more to figure out why the hell don't I like it. And I notice so many people hear something once, it hits them, and they're done. Whereas I want to know, why didn't I like it?
You
And
must
so
be a busy man.
Yeah. So when
Plus, I know you're a little bit eccentric.
yeah, of course. Well,
Yeah.
so I found out that I tend to like everything once I spend some time with it, you know, and so it's to cut through that knee-jerk reaction. So I'm teaching, I'm making a lot of money as a teacher, and, you know, I love playing gigs, but there's something really cool about having an audience to tell all your stories to and get paid. So I'm doing good these days, and thanks for having me. And I'm also thinking about the cats, Harishimo, Chief, and so Teddy. And I'll just close with this, because this is one of my favorite stories. I was playing at Baker's, and Teddy and Kenny Cox were there. And I figured I want to say something to them. So I went up to them and I told Kenny, one of the reasons I'm in Baker's is I heard you play on WDET when I was a teen. And, you know, Teddy, you were an icon. You taught me a whole lot of things. I'm grateful to you both. And Kenny punched Teddy in the arm and said, we just a couple of old dogs. And they started laughing. And I felt great about that, because I got to speak my respect to those who deserved it. And I'll mute my mic now, and thank you.
Outstanding. We finally got him in there. Definitely a unique player, a unique individual in life. I always like to say that all my friends are mutants, and I consider all of you guys my really good friends. We're going to bring our one female into the picture. I'll call her First Lady of Jazz in Detroit, because Alina Morr has been with Straight Ahead for forever. I mean, you're one of the founders of that group, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Who was all there when you started?
Well, we've always had the same rhythm section, which is Marion Hayden and Galen McKinney and myself. So we're the founding members, and we are those that do that primarily do the arrangements and the compositions. But I like to fall back a little bit and talk about my beginnings in the music as well. And I think one of the things that I have in common with a lot of the guys on the panel, which from here to forth, can I just say being called a guy is okay with me. It's generic. Personally, I'm very fatigued about the gender issue. I think I talked about it the other day, so we can put that to rest, okay? All right.
I'll see what I can do.
Well, you wanted the cats, so you know.
Okay, I mean,
don't mind my language.
Get tired. Okay, so I'm not a native Detroiter, but I'm a transplant. I come from a big family in Chicago, Southside Chicago. I was actually born on the East Coast in Massachusetts. My dad had a job where we got transferred several times. So traveling and being in different places is one of my modalities. And then we moved to Michigan, Detroit area, because he was in the automotive industry. And that's where it was. So I actually I had kind of the typical piano lessons as a girl. Always loved music, real musical household. My mother loved the music. We were just singing and dancing all the time. And that was a really nice environment to be in. I actually got started, in this world playing blues. And I actually, somebody mentioned Juanita McCrae, which really rang a bell with me because I played with Juanita. There was a time when there was a really active blues scene in the Cass Corridor. And I was
Right, I remember that.
I was fortunate enough to hook up with Bobo Jenkins, who that led me to play with, Eddie Burns, Willie Warren, Juanita, Washboard Willie, Chicago Pete, rest his soul. And that was a really beautiful experience because, I heard Kenny Barron, they talk about, music education, formal education versus informal education. And I remember Kenny Barron, who arguably one of the best pianists anywhere, and such a beautiful and sensitive person, talking about that back in the day that people didn't have that, and one of the things that was interesting about that was that in order to hear this music, you had to go to the environment where it was being played. You couldn't sit home and order a CD and then play along with it and then put it down at half speed so you could cop the licks. Because I remember trying to get bebop lines and stuff out of an old, just wind it up, type of a cassette player and just like, what was that? And again, what was that? But, playing with these guys, like there was a guy, I think his name was Buddy Folks. And a lot of these guys, or like Johnny Hooker is in that category too. He became a much more polished product at the end because they found a way to like package what he was doing, which was like always like amazing, just like primal earth energy. But like a lot of these guys, just because of 12-hour boot, it did not mean that they were going to the 4 on the 5th bar. They were going to the 4 when they did. And actually we had a great band. It was a young guy named George Freeman was on bass. And there was a couple different drummers, but the best one, his name was Henry. I can't recall his last name. But we play a lot of these different bars with Bobo. And so we got this organic feel for it where it did not matter where they went. And you could almost hear it coming in the music, okay? And we were just under them, just really, really seamlessly. And I was always so glad that I had that experience of learning to play this kind of music this way. Because contrary to common belief, I've never been like the world's best reader. In fact, I've had to really struggle to read well, and I continue to be something that I continue to work on. So having that feeling, and I still have to turn my mind if I'm reading something and then what I hear is not on the page, I just go there, that's how I always play. But, it's been an incredible journey. So I played with all those guys. I started getting more confidence to play more jazz. I started working with my own trios. You talked about a trio that I had with Shubidu and Tani back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
And then I had a chance to leave town for a couple of years. I actually lived in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. So I taught myself to speak Spanish. I wanted to speak to those Dominican men, and I was gonna make sure.
Wow. Okay.
And I had a lot of fun. I played a lot of music, and through that connection, was able to work on a cruise ship with this band. So that was just, just heaven on earth. And then I came back. I wanted to improve my skills. I went and studied for a year in Boston at Berkeley. And I came back, and that's when I met these fabulous women from Straight Ahead. So it's been ongoing. I also love gospel music. I've been really, really fortunate to play in a church where I get a chance to do that. I still play, Latin music when I can. Louis and I have both had the opportunity to play with the great Eddie Caraballo in that whole crew of folks. So Jaribo Shooby-Doo. So it's just been a journey, and it continues to be. So just glad to be in the here and now with all you guys.
Outstanding.
Us guys.
That's right.
And all of you guys too. Okay, all you guys.
I think it's we guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop over to the youngest member of our crew here, which is Evan Mercer, who's now he's in the scene, and a guy I know I can have somebody call and he come in the gig and he do a wipeout job. Man, hey, welcome to the hit. Evan, how you been?
Yeah, Evan.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks, Phil, for having me, man. I'm really, really humbled to be surrounded by just all these legends, man. I'm just like Oh my gosh, man, what am I doing here? But dude, thank you so much. Yeah, man.
You've come in real good. I mean, I know that you're playing with Betty LaVette these days. I looked at some of the stuff that you've done with Tasha Owens, and you've played with Kathleen Murray. Tell me
That's
about
right.
what's it like, how's it seem for you right now?
Well, it's very interesting. Like you, I've always took great pleasure in playing a lot of different styles, and I like listening to a lot of different styles, and I've just always really enjoyed that. And I don't know, coming onto the scene, I've really liked to, I don't know, just like to work, and I love to do it. And I took interest in, like, I found out when I was like 13 years old that people could be musicians as their career, and I was like, I want to do that. That's cool. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I was playing piano as a kid, about 5 years old. So when I found that out, I was always like, that's what I want to do. I want to work. I want to play music. I just want to do whatever I can. So, being on the Detroit scene, I think is a really cool and unique thing, because there are a lot of different styles to play, and there's enough work out there and enough cats out there to really, really diversify yourself. And I've loved it. One day I'll be playing some blues kind of stuff with Tasha Owens or Kathleen Murray, blues and R&B gigs with Betty LaVette sometimes. And then I'll go into play some fusion stuff or some funk stuff. I got an original project called Good Weather. That's more like, funk, soul, neo soul, I guess, kind of stuff.
Are you the band leader? How did that come about with Good Weather? You the band leader with that?
Well, the bass player, Matt Ryan, who is the son of Jimmy Ryan, he's a drummer.
Man, I know Jim Ryan from back in the 70s when he do the what do they call it, the MOR, middle of the road circuit on Telegraph Road. He's a great drummer.
Great. He is an excellent drummer, and they're like my second family, as well as Eileen Stanley, if any of you knew her. And they were like a second family to me. So Matt and I kind of grew up together, playing music together all the time. He's a great bass player and plays guitar really well, and we always just clicked. So like we were in a progressive metal band in high school. That was pretty cool. We just always knew we wanted to play together. And with this project, we both had kind of played with this other band called the Social Bandits for a while, that we met some people there. And then, so we formed some of them. And then with another singer, artist Grace, who is a good friend of ours as well, worked on the scene as a singer a lot. We just all kind of clicked together, and we all shared that attitude of wanting to do a bunch of different things, Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, man, thanks for having me. I had one funny story of why, like, when I was a kid, I took piano lessons. I started about 5 years old. And to me back then, piano lessons were like just the thing I was doing. It was like, okay, soccer practice, piano lessons, and then I go to catechism. I don't know, whatever.
Wow.
And then over the years, I started to, like, I didn't know that songs on the radio and piano lessons were the same thing, and I don't know, it just clicked for me one day. And there was a funny story. I was in 6th grade, and I started to get a couple of things together, and I really like to show off. And there was one day I was playing in front of my class, and I was kind of joking around a bit, and I was playing the Linus and Lucy theme by Vince Guaraldi.
Okay, yeah.
Which I grew up on. Yeah, exactly. I grew up on that music, and he was a huge influence on me. But what I did, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I made it minor. I did just all minor triads.
Okay.
And that was the first time. It was a really strange thing. And then I did like a minor 6th thing in the bass, and it was yeah, that's right. And it was the first thing I did that got a reaction out of people, like, what are you doing? What is that? And I held on to that forever. I was like, oh, this is something I can really, I can get people's attention. It's a really unique thing. And that I just kept going, like, I was always chasing that, you know, that creativity and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I used to do it to chase girls at church. I was really young, so I was playing. I like to, you know, if you play good and then girls like you. So
Right.
Yeah, it used to work for me.
Well,
all right.
that has yet to work for me, so we'll see what happens.
You got the hair, you'll work it out.
Yeah, right. You got the hair.
Well, it definitely worked for Phillip.
All right, we're gonna move to the ladder here. We got Gerrard Gibbs in the house.
Oh
What's
yeah.
up, Gerrard? How you doing over there?
Man, what's going on, Phil? How y'all be? How's everybody?
All right.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you organized and all the whole history of all that stuff, man. Go in and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, again, I want to extend my sincere thanks to you and Sheila and all of the folks involved in putting this wonderful endeavor together. You ought to be commended for this, and I'm so glad to be a part of this. I'm a native Detroiter, born and raised here. I'm a product of the Detroit public school system, from Vandenberg Elementary School to Bogan Junior High to Cass Technical High School, and I'm a Wolverine.
Okay.
I have a degree, but oddly enough, as I tell people, my degree was in architecture. Because I have a father in my life that said, if you want to do music after you graduate from college, that's fine. But before that, you're going to get a degree in something. It can be in basket weaving, toe jam removal, whatever you want, but you're going to get a degree in something.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I got a degree in architecture. And then I worked for the city of Detroit as an architectural engineer for 10 years. Before I gave it all up in December of 2003 to become a full-time musician. Wow. Because at that time I wanted to take advantage of my youth at that time while I still had it, because I didn't want to get to the age that I am now at 53 and look back and like, what would have happened if I would have? So I'm just so glad that I just took that step out, that leap of faith, and made music a part of my life. I think what I was doing was really delaying the inevitable, because music was always a part of my life. I'm so happy to have so many people here who were instrumental in my development, not only as a man but as a musician. I see Phil is here. Phil and I, we met in 1990 at the boardroom, and that's where I got to meet a lot of people on the scene. You, Mike Brown, Mike Fleming, and that's where I began my journey in learning how to play with a band. Charles Greene, oh my good Lord, I met Charles Greene in 1987 at Dummy George when I was under the coattails of Richard Groove Holmes. Every time Richard Groove Holmes came to town, I was forever always trying to find. I mean, Groove told me, when I first met him in 1981 rather, when I got to college, he told me, he said, listen, if you got homework to do, I don't want to see you. Don't be coming up in my gig. If you got homework of school, I don't want to see you. And so I really love him.
He's a mentor of yours.
He was a mentor of mine. Yes. Yeah. That's the reason why I play organ the way that I do today, was because of his influence. I see Giselle Caver is here. She was very, very instrumental in my development. I got a very, very nice Giselle Caver story. I remember one day we were at David Miles's house, and we were watching the late and great Art Porter on BET Jazz, and I was noticing that the keyboard player was not as animated as I get on the keyboards. And
that's for sure. I'm sure.
And I said, me being the young whippersnapper at that time, I didn't know no better. And I said something to the effect, well, shoot, if it was me, I just do me. I do, do what I want. Giselle said to me, well, if you would do you, you wouldn't have the gig. You are not the star.
Did I do that?
Giselle came and said to me, you are not the star. But Giselle, let me tell you what that said. That's what I mean by mentorship. Those little things that you say that, my older brothers and sisters say, those are those things that stick with you because it teaches humility and it teaches humbleness. And I think that's one of those lessons that I learned. I don't know if Jaribu can hear me. I got a wonderful Jaribu Shaheed story. I remember I met him in 1991 and he came and sat in at the boardroom. Now, needless to say, I was playing left-hand bass. I was all into the Richard Groove Holmes thing. And then here comes the bass player. And so, I had the little scowl on my face because, I wanted to play. So we were playing some kind of gig. And I'm trying to sneak in bass lines. And Jaribu said, I got the bass. I got the bass.
Jaribu, I know.
And so again, it's those kind of life lessons that
I got a lot of those
that help develop me, as a musician, that helped teach me to stop playing bass lines with a left hand and actually maybe start chording with your left hand. Greg Dokes, God rest his soul, was stayed in my behind about that. Al McKenzie, there's another one that stayed in my rear end about that. So I'm just so grateful for all of those individuals, those little things. You sometimes you ain't got to say much, but it's just enough. My buddy Chris Codish, I've known me and Chris, we go back to like the mid-90s. Coming up as aspiring organ players, and we got to know and love one another for what we do with this craft. He had the blues, not the blues, but the Brothers Groove thing going on. I had Gerrard Gibbs and organized crime, and let me just say, organized crime does not mean I'm in any kind of illicit activity. It has nothing to do with racketeering and blackmail and shooting and killing. I was with an organ group and I just organized crime.
You would have to know how to spell.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, Alina Morr. I mean, I've known Alina. I remember first seeing her with Straight Ahead. I'm gonna take you back now. Alexander's. At Alexander's, and and again, Chris and I, we both play for Alexander Zonjic. I met Alexander Zonjic at Alexander's back in 1991. So it's just wonderful, seeing everyone here. Marion, same thing. I met her around the same time I met Eileen. Regina Carter, it's just a beautiful thing now. And since then, all of those experiences have led me to play with Stevie Wonder. I played with Gladys Knight. I've played, you name a smooth jazz act, I've played with them. From Ronnie Laws, Marion Meadows, you name it, I played with them.
Over at Floods for a long time.
Yep, we held a residency at Cliff Bell's, and at Cliff Bell's, but at Floods, From 1991 when I started with Calvin Brooks, God rest his soul. We started there in 1991, all through the 2000s with David Miles and the Milestones, with my group Rise, where we decided to call it a career in 2012. And we went on and just let the young folks have it. Down at Floods, just let them have it. And so now I've been playing internationally with James Carter. We've been together since 2002. So that's 18 years. And this past January, we started our 19th year. It's been a wonderful journey.
Gerrard, don't forget you played with Pieces of a Dream.
Oh no, I can't never get. See, if I start getting into all of the national and international mentors that I had, that'll take up another 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
You know, James Lloyd, Chip Sheeran, all
Meadows,
the
Ronnie
Ron
Law.
Lawrence, Marion Meadows, Ronnie Laws, you know, Bubba Bryant, God rest his soul, another great drummer who I've had the chance to work with. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful journey. I'm so grateful that God has allowed me to, to travel the world and to, share this wonderful thing called music. And I'm just glad also, let me just say this too, that I'm so glad that because of those experiences that I had playing with Mike Fleming, playing with Robert Lowe, playing with Calvin Brooks, playing with David Miles, playing with Harvey Thompson, being able to experience all those different genres, which broaden and widen my ears. It was, I can't, Carl Holmes, Dr. Professor Leonard King. I mean, the list just goes on and on of all of those big brothers and big sisters in my life. Harry Paris, there's another one. Who were very influential. Yeah. And I just want to thank y'all, my big brothers, Phil, Charles, Alina, Jaribu, all of y'all. Giselle, thank y'all for Marion. I don't know if you can hear me, but all of y'all just taking this little whippersnapper, and sometimes you had to smack him down, but at the same time, y'all brought me back up and said,
back.
So I love y'all and I appreciate y'all very, very, very much.
You snapped back real well,
for
man.
The influences that y'all instilled in me, and I thank y'all for that. I really do. I thank y'all.
You snapped back real good. Somebody snapped at you. You snapped back real good.
Yeah.
And so everybody all over the place knows who you are. We're gonna bring in Louis Resto, a very odd name in the panel. I'm going to say it's odd because the places he's been and the things he's done and seen, it's really outside of my zone. So I think I first ran across you over at the music menu years ago. It was you were either playing with Sponge or the Orbisons. I'm not sure which name they were running under at that point, but you were playing keyboard that night, and I was tripping on it. Okay, I was saying, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And what
I hope it was a good trip.
It turns out it was a very good trip, but it turns out I couldn't see where I was at the back of the room. The room was crowded, so I was at the back of the room, and I saw another guy, and I thought that he was you, and I said, "Man, you great keyboard player, man. I really liked what you're doing up there, yada yada." And this guy came off like he was you. And he ran that on me for a couple of weeks. It was wild because I didn't get to talk to you that night. And he made like he was that guy. And when I found out he wasn't the guy, did a little cussing, okay? I ain't gonna say what I was. But give it up for Louis Resto, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me here. I can't tell you how many times I tell people how blessed I feel that I'm from Detroit, because my whole playing and my approach to things comes from everyone that I've come across here in the city. And my parents were Puerto Rican. They met at U of M, and they decided to stay here because my dad's residency was in Wayne County. So they raised us in Garden City, right by Westland.
Gotcha.
And I have 3 older brothers, and that's really between my parents supporting everything that we did, and then my 3 older brothers' musical taste that kind of established what I was into. And I was the youngest, and so our thing was fusion. And my brother Mario, 4 years older than me, he was in rock groups when he was 9, and so I was kind of tracking him, and he seemed like he was having a good time. So I wanted to play music, and so I played in his group. And at that time, Miles had just put out Bitches Brew, and Herbie was on the Roads, Chick, and then Zaminal. And for me, Weather Report is the epitome of a band. Those are my heroes. So we did fusion, and I basically have been a synth geek since I was 13, and that playing Amadeus music and then listening to the music that my brother Didi would bring home from the Delta Lady band. Mickey Stein's Pulsating Unit was around mid 70s. So we, and Steve Lipson and Nolan Mendenhall came to our house to play with us. So this was like out of the ordinary for us because we were used to playing in Mom's basement rehearsing Amadeus music, but now we were playing with real musicians, you know. And so it was via those two that I met Erwin Krinsky, which was my first piano teacher in Detroit. And my father would bring me to piano lessons on Thursday, and he would sit reading his medical magazines, catching up on the latest of surgery, and because I didn't drive. And then when I started driving, I met Eric Morgeson, Studio A in Dearborn. And I was kind of the guy who had an OBXA at the time. So I went there. And then I met Don Was via Erwin Krinsky. So really Don is a big mentor of mine that allowed me to connect with every style under the sun. And he was starting to blow up as the producer of the universe, you know, and the Was Not Was in the 80s. And I was really fortunate to be in Was and to experience touring, you know, short tours. You know, we do a 2-week tour of the East Coast and the West Coast, and this is, you know, 19 and 20. You think it's going to happen again, it doesn't, and so it was a beautiful experience. But I was really lucky to work with Don in all his projects because we went to London. We worked with, at that time, Boy George and Culture Club were happening and were hits, and let's see, Helen Terry came through. Don had hooked up with Virgin Records, so he was getting. Who was to be his future wife, Gemma Corfield. She was the first one over here from Virgin. And so he had all these London acts, and London went crazy for Detroit. In the 80s, they just, everybody wanted to sound like Detroit. They still do. And so was an amazing melting pot of styles. And I got to do everything from string arrangements on a synthesizer to bloops and bleeps that I was getting turned on by Kraftwerk. And then at that time, Kevin Saunderson, Carl Craig, and the whole electronic scene was happening. Wow. And it was sort of parallel. And so I learned tons from Don. And I hooked up with Curtis Boone and Herschel Boone at Eric Morgeson's studio. And that was the beginning of learning of funk and the bass line. And I crossed with Michael Henderson, and he taught me everything I know on bass, on a synth bass. And I've been very fortunate to have been able to go from gig to gig and learn just so much. There was a period of time where I was going from United to RMJ to Sylvia Moy's studio. RMJ. It was that time when it was just, you know, the night would go into the day and the day would go into the night. And it's really a beautiful time. And, you know, I just learned so much from that. And just really fortunate. I got to come back home from a stint in LA, checking out LA. I never dug on LA. And I learned out in LA just how important Detroit was, you know, in terms of feel and groove, because nobody, now I'm going to sound like a real estate, but there's nothing like Detroit. You know,
it's weird, but you're right.
It's really just doesn't, it's not the same elsewhere. And I was fortunate to come back and then work with Patti Smith, and she was a heroine of mine when I was growing up. When Horses came out, I just would stare at the Robert Mapplethorpe cover, and I dug on what I was hearing when she was doing GLORA, Gloria, and then I get to work with her when I'm 30, you know? And so that was phenomenal. And we cut at Electric Ladyland Studio in New York, the studio Jimi Hendrix built. Yeah. And went from there to doing an ad house called Monster Music. I was way in debt with credit cards around 88 and had to figure out a way out. So I hooked up with a partner of mine, Greg Doyle, and we did Monster Music. And it got me out of that hole. And it just, not to be a buzzkill, but he was a very good friend of mine, and he passed from COVID. And that kind of caught me off guard 2 weeks ago when I was working on the latest thing that I'm working on, which is out in Boston. I am my partner Nicola Conrads is the arts administrator at the Walnut Hills School for the Arts in Natick, Massachusetts. And this last year has seen me working with this senior who wanted to work with me on an EPK that he wanted to put out. His name's Amir Taylor. He's from the Bahamas, tremendous singer, and came up in the church, and he's writing beautiful songs. And so that's really been taking up a lot of my time this last half year, is finishing up that project with him. And then in the city where Phil, you came through on a Saturday, for the last 10 years, I've inhabited the 3rd floor of DeVries Cheese Shop in Eastern Market. And it's just proven to be a real beautiful, vibey studio with instruments all around. Pardon me?
Are you still doing that now?
I am. And, the pandemic, we weren't, but what it evolved into was on Saturdays opening up to the public, and people came in and would jam. And so inviting you all Saturday, usually from 11 to 1, come through. Phil has come through.
He's got all the keyboards that you actually want to screw around with. He's got the organ. He's got the
piano. Got everything up in there. I've seen pictures of it.
He's got the keyboard.
And there's
guitar amps, vocal, drums, everything is up there. So it's an easy place to go and have a good time.
Yeah, come through. It'd be lovely to see all of you and, to play. And that's, Patty, did Monster Music. And then around 2001, met Marshall Mathers. And I didn't know much about rap at the time, to be honest with you. And it was through Joel Martin. And I had known Jeff Bass and Mark Bass throughout the years, passing ways to the studio, and they were busy producing Everybody on the Sun. So I thought Eminem was this girl rapper actually at the time, and I didn't know who he was talking about when he said, "Do you want to do a session?" And Jeff, it was like second year into Marshall's busting out, and he couldn't make all the sessions, and so then I went in, and we had chemistry, and we continued to work to this day. And it's been a great ride. He's to know Marshall. I say know Marshall is to love Marshall, and he's been very kind to me. And
very cool.
It continues to be cool. I love music, and I've never thought when I was 18, 20, I never thought I'd be such a prideful, I hang my flag on this and that. But I am so proud to be from Detroit, man. It's different from all the places that you pass through. And I think that it comes from the people, the work ethic, and the variety. I mean, you do everything here, and you get turned on. There's not much I don't like, and it's fun. I've had a good ride, and it continues to be. And thank you for having me here. This is lovely.
Good. Thank you for showing.
Hey, Louis. Louis.
Sheila.
Yes.
Evan said in the chat that he's going to take you up on that.
On which part? Coming to the loft, or what?
I think so.
Yeah, come through. Everybody's invited. Please come through. I think you'd enjoy it, really.
It looks great. I saw some video of you. I don't remember quite where it was, but I remember seeing a video, and it looked like you were just like in this universe of keyboards. There was just keyboards like all over the place. Did you grow a couple extra arms or something? It was like an atmosphere of keyboards. It was like without dimensions. So definitely.
Well, there's midlife keyboard crisis. This is late life keyboard crisis. So you just have them all around. So,
I know about
it. Let's go over here.
I love it. Yeah.
Who's the only guy on our panel here that's got an Oscar?
Yeah, right. There you go.
All right.
What was that like? Did you go to the ceremony, anything like that? Did you go?
Well, I was the only one there. So feel free to YouTube up and go, Eminem Oscars, and you will see me with hair like Evan Mercer's. And I was there by default because we never thought we'd win something like that. So when we got nominated, I remember, that's weird. And it was for Lose Yourself. And I went home that night and was having some food. I go, okay, what if? Okay, I'll just make sure to have Marshall and my then wife, Colleen. And then the kid, have those two things at the front. That's all I had. So when the Iraq War busted out the Thursday before. So Jeff Bass, the other writer, stayed home because he had just had a baby boy. And then Marshall didn't want to be sitting in the audience when we lost, because we weren't going to win, you know. And so I went there by default, and I brought my brother Tito, who was a plastic surgeon in Vegas. So perfect event for him to come, and he was checking everybody. You know, he's going, oh, Botox, tummy lift, breast implant. Just citing everything there. And then, yeah, if you YouTube it up, you'll see Barbra Streisand, and she opens it up, and the eyes say everything. It's like, I don't think she thought it was the greatest pick, So I have to come from my seat, and I have to go get this thing. And earlier that day, I was with Don and his son, Anthony, who now was at that point, 20 or something. I met Anthony when he was 3. Wow. And so when I met Anthony in 1980, I would do pratfalls, like Jerry Lewis. I would bust myself up against the wall, and he'd just fall down laughing. I love to entertain, So that walking out, he goes, man, it would be so dope if you guys win. I'll tell you what, if we win, I'll trip on the steps, going up. So when I'm going down, that's the first. Actually, the first thing that's in my mind is seeing Barbra Streisand. And, I had years of doing wedding gigs and, falling asleep at the bridal dance to memories, to people. It's just, yeah. So to see Barbra Streisand, I'm going, this is pretty strange. It's like, I only played tunes and now she's there. And then the next thing was, here's the steps. Am I going to do a pratfall, But I didn't.
You did? Okay.
No.
So,
yeah, I thought about it. Then I said, I'm just going to have to get back up. So I didn't do it. And so if you look at it, you're going to see me dressed up in a pretty wild outfit. And that was courtesy of Don Watts, because I was staying in his backyard there. And I came prepped with a pretty, I thought, arty, bizarre costume already. If you guys have seen Stop Making Sense, David Byrne,
the big suit,
big coat,
his 8. Yeah. I had something just like that. It was, it was from Thailand. My friend Paul in New York had it flaming red. And then he looks at it and goes, let's go to my room. And so, we go up, and he just pulls out, Richie Sambora's jacket. He puts out Mick Jagger's, boots. He puts out Ringo Starr's star shirt. The Detroit Pistons were winning that year. So he then has a Grand Hill. What was it? Number 11? Was that Grand Hill?
Good question.
It's 3311, something like that. And that was the last thing he threw me was, if you win this and you're wearing this shirt, Detroit will love you forever, And so I have, it doesn't matter to me what I look like. So I put on all this, and then the last thing, some love beads he put on, and that's what I went. That's what I went up to the Oscar to get the Oscar, and it was voted in 4 magazines, the worst dressed. I was up there with.
That's good. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And some of the comments, some of them said, "Oh, Weird Al Yankovic" in the thing. It's Cher going. They were pretty fun. Believe me. I thought they were funny, and so that it was a crazy experience. And the star shirt, what's funny about that was Ringo Starr's star shirt. And when Don gave it to me, he said, Ringo was pissed at me because he gave it to me. Don had won the producer of the year for Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time. And then the following year, they were up for Luck of Draw or something. And Ringo gave him that shirt, the star shirt to wear. Don didn't wear it, and he didn't win it. And so then Ringo called him up afterwards, saying, why didn't you wear the shirt? So he gave it to me, and I happened to have it, and who knew? And so we won it, got it, and then they sweep you backstage, and I'm calling Shady and Marshall. Marshall's asleep, and then they take you into the press room, and there you go.
Wow,
it was crazy.
That's a whole unique thing going on there, man. Let me ask you guys, because we all play with a lot of different people, and everybody's got the thing that they're doing, and yada yada. But do you have, like, for me, I got music from like the late 80s, and I did a lot of jam sessions before then when we record them, but I got stuff that I just wrote on my own, which is like a personal diary to me now. And I go back, I got stuff from way back then up to right now. Just personal music. Do you have personal music? I know Charles does. I know Jimmie Blues does, but do you guys have personal music that never really quite made it out into the genre circuit, the standard circuit? Stuff that you do on your own, that you do on your own for yourself, for your own.
I got years and years of that stuff.
I know you do.
Sure.
Yeah. Could you tell me a little bit about that? That might be useful to a lot of guys.
Well, I always, I sit around every day and make up little grooves or something like that. And I come up with an idea. It could be just maybe bass drums and a keyboard thing, grooves. And sometimes there'll be more parts. But then I save them. I date them and I save them. And so I've got them back in the 90s. Some, saved as MIDI files and some saved in different formats. Now I'm using Reason on the computer. So I've transferred a lot of that stuff into Reason. In fact, that album that I put out a few years ago was stuff that I went and took 10 of them and finished them. And then put the album out. So that's what I'm
the Chinese. Doing. I like the CD.
Go ahead. Anybody, it's a free for all.
But his 10 Easy Pieces is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
projects.
That's a really nice CD.
It's really nice. Sometimes late at night, if I'm feeling bad, I put that on, and it's very relaxing. It's really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It makes my day.
Evan, you do stuff like that? You make stuff for yourself?
Yeah, I was gonna say I do stuff like that, but most of the time it's like demos that either I haven't finished or just haven't really saw through yet. But it's a really nice thing to pile that up over the years, because you can just go back to it with a fresh ear. Yeah, like Charles said, like you can just go back and finish them and release them whenever you want. Sure. And sometimes you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you hear. You're like, oh, that is actually pretty cool. Or like, nah, that was not very cool, But yeah, definitely. I think,
it's like you always want to know what you sound like. And by doing that, you find out at least who you are as a musician, what your sound is, by being able to do it on your own. I got stuff that, when the M1 first came out in '89, I think it was, when that thing came out, I was like, oh, I gotta have it. I went out and I bought that M1, and I'm writing these little songs inside the workstation, and I'm just thinking I'm jamming away. I want to get this stuff on the radio. I'm calling up in King Gay Zola and trying to get a hookup on WDT back in the day. And I was just trying to get inside there, but it didn't sound right. It was not engineered properly. And I had to realize I couldn't send her a tape 120 minutes with 25, 30 songs squeezed inside there and have her pick out one to play on the radio. I had to find out some hard lessons, but I've continued to make personal music that now at this point, I don't really care about genre. I call my music urban progressive. I have to make up my own name. So I would suffer the genre classification thing, jazz, blues, what I do whatever the hell I want, right?
Urban progressive is a good name.
Anybody like that?
I think the first time that I got exposed to writing my own music was when I was able to put one original of mine on Calvin Brooks and Harry Pierce's record. It was called Lemon Sorbet. And it was just a simple little melody that I came up with, and something that I, a lot at that time in 1991, I'm just, I'm a year out of college, and I keep hearing this thing about how certain melodies should be the most memorable ones are the ones that you can sing, and so I just kind of thought of this little melody, and I was able to get it on Calvin and Harry's record. Fast forward to today, because at that time I was a novice. I didn't know anything about, how to, do little sequences and things like that. I was watching Charles, I was watching Phil, y'all was doing that stuff on the M1 and stuff like. I remember when that M1 came out, I was this close to getting that Korg M1.
There we go.
And then my good buddy in the band that I was playing with, his name is Darian Smith. He's a bass player, and he told me to look at this keyboard called the Roland D70. And then I heard that keyboard, and I was like, well, that's it. So unfortunately, the D70 was not a workstation. But I digress. You know, I really didn't get into like really recording and writing my own music until a little bit later, maybe like 96, 97, when I first got into Cakewalk. And you know how it is when you're learning new pros, a lot of trial and error. You accidentally erase stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I was able to, you know, have a lot of fun with. Now I'm using Logic, and I'm having a lot of fun now writing and just allowing that music to just come through and to develop those ideas, you know. And you know, since we got this wonderful thing that we didn't have in the early 90s called the internet. You know, you can put music out, you know, that doesn't even necessarily have to be mixed and mastered. You can there's a wonderful thing called SoundCloud and Bandcamp and all this other, you can put it out tomorrow if you want to, you know. So
is that what you're doing? Are you doing stuff like that?
No, I'm not. No, not like that, you know.
Chris probably is.
He's too busy gigging.
When I did, you know, I really want to do another organ record. It's been 17 years since my last organ record. But my only problem is that, you know, I got a kid who wants to be a pilot, and he's in college, and then I got a 11-year-old, so I just kind of had to reprioritize the money. So. But I'm hoping that soon that I'll be able to do that.
Music production costs have plummeted.
Say it again, Charles. What plummeted?
I said that music production costs have plummeted.
Yeah.
Also, music revenues have plummeted too.
Chris, I know that you probably have stuff that's rolling through all those. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, you know, definitely, you know, little songs of all kinds of different genres. You know, you get an idea and you work with it, and then it's like, well, what do I do with this? You know, this is like, oh, I like this or whatever, and you know, and sometimes it becomes something, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, but it's definitely it is like you say, it's kind of a document of where you were at that point.
Yeah.
And it's always fun, you know. It's like now I have a daughter and all that, and I don't have the time that I used to write, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I do when I had more time? Why didn't I do more with it? But you know, I've always, you know, there's definitely, like you say, it's like that stuff like, what do you do with this song? You know, it's like, oh, well, you know, like, you know what the scene is, especially if you're out there actively gigging, you know, it's like, okay, well, this will either work or won't. And you have this stuff like, well, you know, what do you do with it? So yeah, I've got some stuff on SoundCloud or things like that, you know. And like actually the other night, I had written something again. I've been using Noteflight, which is a nice composition software that runs on Chrome, because I got a Chromebook, and like I was using Notion for iOS, mainly because my main computer setup is downstairs, which I just can't get to as much with my daughter. So I've been, you know, what can I do mobile that works good? And actually, you know, Noteflight's really good. I've been writing some stuff with that, and then thinking, okay, well, you know, and then I've been, you know, just sit down. I've been trying to transcribe a lot lately since the pandemic, which is something I hadn't done because I'd been gigging so much. So that's been a upshot of that. You know, like I really love like 50s style string stuff, like some Nat King Cole, Stardust. Trying to pick out that. I wrote out the intro for Ray Charles's Georgia the other day. You know, and just trying to learn like these things, and then maybe try to apply that to my own thing. But just really kind of like going back and whatever I really like, for whatever it is, and figuring it out, you know, like really kind of getting, you know, and it was like, and even the like Freedom Jazz Dance, you know, I knew the first two parts of the head, but I never, that second part I hadn't. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting down with this thing, and I'm gonna have a struggle as slow as I have to get it. And then I started working on Eddie's solo from that first record, the In Sound or whatever. And then I wrote out Cedar Walton's solo from Shadow of Your Smile, which I love.
Mm.
You know, just the information for that. So that's been a really good thing for me lately is spending time with records I love, you know, all over. And that inspires whatever. But I did that, but you know, like we were saying earlier, the tools now, like Eileen mentioned earlier, you know, like I had one of those half-speed cassette player, and by the time you're working on one song, you've almost worn off the tape. You know, at least my ears are good enough to have to rewind. Now, like Amazing Slow Downer, you know, you can loop it and slow it down and everything like that. So the tools are just great.
You know, the late Bess Bonnier said that she used to take, back when she was, you know, back in the day, they used to take 33 records and slow them down to 16 on their record player so they could copy licks and stuff like that.
It's
done
much
that before.
hipper now.
I've done that before, and then the trick of it is that then it was usually take it down about a flatted fifth. So if you were doing something in D, for example, then it would be down in A flat or something. So then you would have a slow down. So then you have to learn it in A flat, and then you'd have to bring it back a little bit in the original. And we did this, you know, I mean, that was just, I mean, if you know, you have to love it, and then you gotta have to do whatever it's going to take to get it. You know, that's the thing. I remember Charles Bowles telling me about Barry Harris. Of course, was known for just his extreme dedication to the music and his very studious approach to music. Say if he was going on a road gig with somebody, going on a road gig with one LP, like one, it just like that was all he listened to, and that's all he studied the entire time. Now I don't know how we worked out having a record player on the road, but that was the thing. It was just like that laser focus on that one thing. And you're right. Nowadays they can press a button. It's transposed for you. You can slow down the 10 mil to any rate. I mean, it's really different. You know,
there's a lot of
really
cheating going on now.
Yeah, a lot of perpetrating going on. But, you know, it's all good. It's the world we live in.
Alina, you did not say perpetrate.
I see Jimmy's got his hand raised. What you got, Jimmy?
I'm not throwing any shade at you, okay?
Jimmy knows how to use the technology. He's got his hand raised. Go ahead, Jimmy. What's
Yeah,
up?
we had a tech rehearsal and stuff, but I was always, the fun thing for me was to write a tune 10 minutes before the gig and take it to the gig and have a sympathetic rhythm section, such as I share Phil's rhythm section, Alex Brooks and Greg Cook from time to time. And at first, when I started bringing my originals, they would be like, oh man. But then they actually heard what the originals were and they got used to it and now they like it. So that's really fun. Writing a tune 10 minutes before the gig and hearing it played by great musicians right then. That's awesome.
That's right. You guys had a good run over there at Northern Lights before, you know, the lights went out. Anybody? How about you, Evan? Are you doing original stuff, and how do you approach that? You know.
Well, especially in the last year, I've been trying to, you know, just write a lot because, I mean, let's face it, like this whole time was almost too much time for introspection. You know, you're like, wow, all right, you know. So, and I kind of was faced with the question of like, do you have an idea of what you're going to write before you're going to write it, or do you just let it come out naturally? That was one thing I was always, you know, the downside of liking to play so many genres. Then when it came time to write something, it's like, what do I want to play? You know? So a lot of the pandemic gave me a chance to explore each and every little thing I wanted to do, like trying to write some jazz stuff to like fusion to like, you know, some like more like progressive kind of stuff with a few buddies of mine and things like that. But I don't know. I'm thankful for the technology now today. Like a lot of the time I'll just take my voice memos on my phone and just, if I have a little idea, just record it really quick. Whether it'll be a melody or a specific voicing or just a specific idea. And yeah, I've been really thankful for that because that helps me a lot. If I don't document it, even just a demo somewhere, I'll forget it. That's
what I kind of got into last year when the pandemic came down and checks went out and I saw enough money in order to make something happen. I ended up having to upgrade my computer. I had a 2011, and that thing, I could not upgrade it enough to make it happen for a new program. So I bought a new Mac, you know, one of the MacBook Pro, Mac Pro, and I got Logic 10.5.
Nice.
Man, changed my life. I mean, for a long time I had Digital Performer 9, I think it was 9 for a long time. But then when I upgraded to 10.5, it was a whole nother thing. The rhythms that's already embedded inside there and how it do the process. Well, it changed me. Me and Sheila started writing songs around here. We kicked together. We kicked up 7 songs. I added some more because I'm just always trying to find out how to get the sound. I was trying to learn how to be a better engineer to do my own sounds. And so I think in this case, I might actually bring my stuff out of the basement and put it into something like SoundCloud or Bandcamp or whatever like that.
You gotta put it, get it out there, man.
And definitely
should, man. I want to hear that.
There are a lot of streaming stations out worldwide that'll play stuff now, and you know, is
that working out for anybody?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not any money in it, not much money in it, but
but I mean, you get some exposure and
lots of, I'm getting exposure, and there's a way to work it. Of course, you have to find the email address of the stations and then send them a thing, that kind of deal. Submit your music, but hey, people play it, man. I got music playing in some of the waiters places,
Louis, do you use any of those kind of things, or how do you do it?
I use them all, and the my thing is almost like attention deficit now to finish something, because I'm thankful for this project that I'm working on with this student. He's 18, he's got great ideas, great voice, and since I'm responsible of being a mentor to him, it's even more than a gig. It's you want to do the right thing, and dedicated to it, really. And it's more so than I have the ability to have interest in my own. If I had to say anything, that what I do in a continuum is sound searching. I love pedals. I have too many pedals because half of them I don't get to, but I love hearing how they hook up. I'm a frustrated guitar player, so I put them on the guitar, onto the keyboards, just to hear them, do their sounds. And I can go off course into ambient spaces more so than others. That said, I've been, back to Bach. I love going to the Well-Tempered, and then I'm going through Wendell Harrison's bebop course, and that's kind of flipped my head around, because for my lifetime, I can emulate and I can, get on it, but I would never say that I live jazz. I wish I did, and I wish I could play it fluently. And this is really, it's kind of opened up my eyes to a lot of things. And he was at the Loft a couple of times about 4 months ago, and he's just awesome. So those have been the things I've been foraying into.
Outstanding. And I'm going to ask a different type. In fact, I want to open it up to the audience out here too. It's like 8:23, so I want to open up to the audience. If people have a question and you know how to hit this thing, raise your hand or something. I see Brendan Davis out there. He's part of the new generation guys like Evan, who are brand new to the scene, but killing it. Because I saw something with Marion Hayden. She's got a video from Carytown that I saw like during the pandemic, and these guys are on there just burning it up. So I'm always happy for the new generation, the next group of guys that come into the scene from where they're coming from and how well.
Yeah.
There we go, Gerrard. I see that. See your window Harrison right there.
Yes, sir.
Happy for guys like that come into the
You're
scene.
not the only one, Louis.
But here's a trivia question of sorts. We all play keyboard, and some people are piano players, some people organ players, some people play both. Now, some of my favorite guys, I'm a big Herbie Hancock fan. I like Herbie and the late great Chick Corea, as it turns out now. Hate to see that loss, but as well as Gary Shunk, who was also one of our late great guys in Detroit. But
Okay.
what do you think about the piano organ thing? You know, some guys will not play organ. Okay, it's
That's
not
me.
Gerrard Gibbs because he kills it.
That's
But
me. I
some
won't
guys
play.
will not play an organ, and
I won't play B3. I'll leave it alone.
They well, tell me about that. I mean, those same guys, Herbie and those guys, every year the NAMM show comes out in California, and they're any brand new keyboard, any of them, they're looking to buy any new thing, learn how to use it, blah blah blah, but not that Hammond organ. What do you think about that, Gerrard, Chris? I know you guys do a great job on the Hammond. So,
Well,
what do you think about the guys who do that?
Go ahead,
I
Chris.
love
You
the
go ahead.
Hammond that I got from Chris. I bought Chris's old Hammond B3, and I absolutely adore it. Now I can't play in the organ style that Gerrard and Chris play, but it's a beast, and it's just like investigation for me to see, you know, well, maybe this time out I'll discover and maybe get the hang of this part of it, you know. But it's a monstrous.
I think for the most part, the difference is even though both instruments have black and white keys, I think it's about the language. And you know, it's and I would even let's take it a step further. Even though, you know, even though I play, you know, I do the Richard Groove Holmes, Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McGriff thing. It's a totally different thing when you apply the gospel element to it. Now, I'm pretty sure that my brother Chris can elaborate on that because he's played a lot more in church than I have. And he understands the language, you know, of playing the organ.
I mean, I'm trying to. I feel I'm like on the fringe of both jazz organ and you know, gospel, because I don't consider myself an official gospel player in any capacity. I've learned, and I'm always trying to pick up more stuff, but there's a whole nother style of playing, and even where they're playing the bass line on the top manual, you know, like, right, there's that whole thing. And then, you know, like I came up, you know, around Bill Hyde and Lyman, and you know, some of the Rudy Robinson, some of the other great players around here that I was so lucky to see. And you know, just something about the organ like appealed to me. I don't know. It just like, I think it either calls to you or it doesn't. And you know, and for whatever reason that is, you know, I like the sound of it. And yeah, I think there's definitely like, it's also like a language. Like when I really got on the organ, I almost listened to nothing but organ records. So like when I met Bill Hyde, probably in my early 20s, I was so like, you know, just like, this is what I want to check out. So all I did was listen to organ records for like a couple of years, and like, so they just like kind of seeped in. And it's funny, we just rewatched the movie Barfly the other night, which we got on DVD. But they have both the sermon from Jimmy Smith and Hip Hugger by Booker T. Both tunes I've played in my sets for years, and I saw that when I was in high school, '87. That's why my organ story is I actually heard Charles Earland on the radio when I was in high school, just listening to my Walkman, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I have to know what this is. And I ran out and bought it, and I was lucky enough to see Charles Earland maybe a year later at Baker's, and I got to meet him. He was very cool, very nice, whatever. But it just, I think it either calls to you or it doesn't. You know, I don't know. It's like, it's funny because it's like jazz is so unpopular already. Then you put the slice of organ jazz, and it's like you're really just shooting yourself in the foot. You don't want to sell any. You don't want to sell any records.
Chris.
You don't want to sell any records. Make an organ jazz record. You know, I mean, I love them, and I've got a bunch of them. But Gerrard and a few other people, like that's one of the least pop. I mean, you got that many record buyers, you know, organ and then jazz organ. But you know, like the gospel thing.
They love that stuff overseas, though, man. They love
it. They do. It's a good point, Charles.
I see Jaribu's got his hand raised. I want to kick him inside here. You there, Jaribu?
Yeah. Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You already mentioned. Excuse me. I think I'm distorting. You mentioned one of the things that I was concerned about is I hadn't heard anybody say anything about Shunk.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear you guys reminisce about Shunk. And the other guy that I like for people to muse about in particular is Harold McKinney.
Oh yeah.
Well, the whole city kind of came through Harold McKinney, and when I was coming up, it was like if you if you didn't, it was either Harold McKinney or Teddy Harris, and
Or Kenny Cox.
Kenny Cox. I didn't see a whole lot of Kenny Cox. He would show up on festivals and like that, and a whole bunch of other guys knew him that I did. I never really got to meet him personally more than a couple times, but he was a guy that I actually was about to get with right before he died. So that was kind of a thing. My brother started playing. My brother Milt playing drums. He played a gig or something with Kenny Cox, and I've always wanted to get with him. And he died right before that was really able to happen. But
I know all those guys.
Gary Shuckman was. He's like.
Yeah. I was more on the Teddy Harris. I was more on the Teddy Harris side of things when I was working with Robert Lowe in 1990, 91, and half of 92. That's when I was working because Teddy Harris and my dad went way back. And so Dad kind of got that introduction happening. And I got a real funny Teddy Harris story. I remember when Teddy Harris used to lead the jam sessions at Baker's on Sunday nights. And he was getting ready to play Confirmation. And by that time, this was like this first half of the 90s. I can't remember the exact year, but I did know sense enough to know that if you didn't know the whole song, that means you don't know the song.
Right.
So when he was getting ready to call Confirmation, I said, okay, well, I'm about to get up because I don't know. And Teddy Harris said, sit down, man. And so, when Teddy Harris put that look on his face, I was like, okay. And, but I said, Teddy, I don't know the bridge. And so he came around and he put his finger, put his finger on the bass notes. And he said, okay, now you know the bridge. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I was like, oh, shiznit. And but again, and I'm sorry, I did not mean to leave out his name, but that's another one, Teddy Harris, who who just said, no, okay, you don't know, okay, but I promise you that after today you gonna know it. Harold McKinney, I met a little later. Another one, very instrumental.
I got a Harold McKinney's recollection. When I was like 10 or 11, I was taking piano lessons at the Northwestern School of Music. And it was on West Grand Boulevard, and it was in a big old house there. And Charles Coleman was the guy who had it. In fact, his son, Cliff Coleman, used to be on WTZ.
Oh, yeah. I know that. Yeah.
Right. And Harold he wasn't my teacher, but I had another teacher there. But I would hear Harold, this is 1961, maybe. And he was like practicing furiously in between students that he would have, but it was a pretty busy school of music back then on West Grand Boulevard near 14th.
Okay.
Like Motown, it was in one of those big old houses like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Gary Shunk, funny guy. I mean, he's a great musician. I just love his he swings. He's swinging away. I remember one time, I think it was a gig with Robert Lowe, and he had some eccentricities about him. He came to this gig. He didn't have a keyboard stand, so he put on his lap, and I think he was wearing house shoes. I was like, he's got on house shoes. It didn't matter. He could play anything he wanted to. The great player, boom, boom, boom. But he had on house shoes, and he had his keyboard in his lap. So I was like, man, this guy's wild. But we would talk, and he just, I loved him with his big Charlie Brown head. Love that guy, man. Big fan. What you have? I saw your hand was up, Jimmie.
That was a while ago, and then the discussion moved on, but we were talking about organs, the musical kind. And I was always of the school that I played in lots of blues bands and I lugged my Kurzweil around because moving a Hammond is just too much for me. But those gigs where a Hammond was provided, like at festivals, the chance to play one in a blues band on a giant stage and to hear that growl come through these giant speakers, that's a thrill. And a lot of times they would offer me, do you want the Hammond or do you want this keyboard? And I would always pick the Hammond, but the only stipulation would be, give me 5 minutes to set up the drawbars.
Yeah.
You know, because all this stuff is on stage and everyone's running around. So that experience, the growl of that Hammond through those giant speakers, that's one of the most powerful sounds I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, I've had that similar experience with the spinners, same kind of thing.
I've grown up and having an organ, like playing in church. You know, I went from piano to when I was 10 to about 12 years old. I started playing organ. And my father was a pastor of a church, so he would sometimes that church would go to another church, and you're a victim of whatever they got there. You know,
oh my God,
they might have a Hammond or they might have a Thomas. Okay, and it might not be what you want to play. It might just be a piano with a flower pot on the top. You had to learn how to make anything work. And that's fun. I've always just thought that was something I was supposed to do. I looked at that thing with the drawbars and I fantasized about it before I ever played it. So it was just something I just wanted to do. I see Brendan Davis is tossed in a question here. So I guess we can all take this one. How has your practice sessions changed through the years? Who wants to take it?
Phil, there was another question before that was when did we lose Shump?
A month or two ago.
Yeah, very recently.
I think was it in March?
Yeah.
Or April.
It was April 2nd.
It was in April.
April.
I just put the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I sent Chris the link. It was April.
Okay.
Hey, Brendan, you want to uncork? You want to plug in, Brendan? Is your mute? Can you unmute? All right, we'll stick with the question. Is he in?
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
Hey, Brendan.
What's up?
Yeah.
He's holding court over on Wednesday nights over at Cliff Bell's and playing with Noah Jackson.
Oh, cool.
Who's running the bookings and stuff over at Cliff Bell's now. So how you doing, Brandon?
What's up, Brandon?
Hey, everyone. Grateful to listen to all of you. This has been amazing to learn from everyone and hear your amazing stories. So I'm just honored to hear these.
Where are you doing your thing at right now outside of Cliff Bell's and like that? Are you in school right now?
No, I graduated last year.
Okay.
From Michigan, and just been doing what I can.
Oh, you're older than you look.
Oh yeah, I'm old. Yeah, I'm
he's a very gifted player here. Going to see you guys play on Wednesday nights is for me just inspirational. It's just that thing I have to do. When I know somebody is hot, I want to see it, and I don't want to have to pretend like I know what it is without really knowing. So, how are you liking playing in the city scene and doing stuff with Marion and Noah and all these guys? How are you liking all that?
Oh, it's awesome. It's just a great opportunity to be a part and work with just some amazing musicians who just have this wealth of knowledge and experience that I'm still trying to glean from, because I'm still trying to, get my own concept and, kind of get my own bearings as like a player and as a person, so I've just been really enjoying it and fortunate.
Way cool. Are you just piano or you play organ too?
I play organ. It's mostly it's only gospel though. I haven't
whatever that means.
Yeah, I mean, but it's padding. It's not like like nothing like Gerrard can do.
Okay. Not the Gerrard Corey Henry type thing. No.
Some little pads. That's all I got.
I hear you. I'm a noisemaker on an organ. But I've run across so many guys that were organ specialists after running the Codish and D-Mac, Duncan McMillan, Sean McDonald. These all guys that I've been knowing for years, and they know exactly how to get. They know where the stops are. They know who stops or what. They know how to make all the sounds. So that's taught me a lot. And I guess did that a lot of that, Chris, come from you hanging out with Hyde?
Hyde showed me about 3 or 4 settings. I mean, it's funny. I hung out with him a lot. He never gave me an official lesson, although one day he sat down and wrote out 3 choruses of blues bass line for me because I would keep sitting in, and I guess the lines I was playing were bugging him or whatever. So he showed me some official. He showed me some official, like 3 choruses. I wrote it out, and I learned that in every key. I played that with Johnny Bassett, and then I started to hear it, and that was my. And he also showed me the sharp 9 with a 5 on top. That was the chord, the Jimmy Smith chord. And he showed me some of the settings, and then he's like, well, there's about 9 settings, about 4 settings. This is the McDuff, this is the whatever, and and he's right. I mean, as much as you try, I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool to try to get other things out of it. But I'm a traditionalist in that way, that I pretty much I stick with like the gospel of, and I mean like the setting wise, I kind of stick to what my idols played and stuff. I like. There's stuff that works, I have a couple of things that are maybe outside of that, but the first 3 with the percussion on is Jimmy Smith. That's my solo setting if I'm playing organ, for the, like that. There's
y'all
with the last drawbar out,
Y'all actually knew what those things were. And as a result of hanging out with you, it gave me a clue about, hey, you should know at least some of the settings that the actual people used and went back to. I was always more Billy Preston. You just grab a handful of stuff.
That's an awesome style. That's an awesome style too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like there's that's another thing.
I'm sorry. Did somebody have a hand up? Evan?
I did before. I had 2 quick things to say.
Go for it.
One, I've noticed, especially about the Hammond organ thing, like you see them less and less. Like I feel like my generation doesn't see them a lot, especially in the jazz setting. And it's something I've always wanted to do and always wanted. So I'm committing like this year and the next, I'm going to start learning some more organ. So Gerrard and Chris, I'm going to have some questions for y'all pretty soon.
Come on with it, bro. Come on with it, bro.
And I also had a very, very quick Gary Shunk story. And then we should get to Brendan's question. But I was at Wayne State. I went to Wayne State for jazz studies. And when I got there my freshman year, I was 18, 19 years old. And one of the guy that tuned the pianos was like, have you heard Gary Shunk? I said, no. I said, oh man, you have to listen to him. And he was playing at the recital hall in Wayne State. So this guy takes me to meet Gary before the show. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm really excited to, hear you play and all that thing. He said, yeah, I think I got a couple of CDs in my car if you're interested. I said, yeah, man, that'd be great. I'd love to check those out. I said, yeah, I'll grab you one before I leave. I said, great. Thank you, man. He plays, he blows my mind, changes my life. He blew me away. And I went up to him after the show. I said, Gary, wow, man, thank you so much. Like that was a real treat to hear you. I couldn't believe what I just heard. I'd love to grab a CD from you if you got one. He said, yeah. You got any money?
That'd be so.
Can I interject? Can I interject? You talked about the guy that was tuning the pianos. If I'm not mistaken, that was Kerry Lundquist, who was really a tremendous piano player in his own right. Wasn't it, Kerry?
That's right. Kerry.
Yes,
Kerry Lundquist really started out. He was a really good jazz player. He could play like Herbie and stuff. And then he caught the Latin bug and just became completely just played Latin music for a long time. And now his specialty is just merengue, which as a Latin player, I'm not going to do that to my wrist. That's just not my thing. I like salsa, I like cha-cha-cha, son montuno. I mean, I can play a serviceable merengue, but that's his obsession. And he runs a very successful business as a piano tuner, but he's another one of these unsung heroes.
Yeah.
He's another one of these really unsung guys that you never hear about. Tremendous player, Kerry Lundquist, and a really good piano player, a really nice guy. He's definitely one of my piano buddies.
Yeah,
Just
you guys know
in the mix. Yeah.
You guys know Jim Alfredson. I know some of y'all probably do.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah,
God bless you,
man.
There's another guy that he gets on the organ and just whips ass, man. I like people that sit down and they know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Makes me a better player. So,
Yeah.
okay, in terms of how, give me that question again, Brendan, tell me how that question was, how do we approach
Practice sessions.
practice?
Yeah, and just like how has it changed over the years? Like, have you found like differences? Or like, have you added things? Have you dropped things? Like, I'm just curious, like how that's happened over time.
The way I practice is to listen and play along with, and so I don't care if it's playing along with Herbie with Miles or playing with Jimi Hendrix. I put them on, I play along, and then I listen harder to find out how fast can I get from zero to song. I just always want to be really responsive, and that's always been my thing. But practicing, hell, I'll put a rhythm or something. I have a thing where I have a fast swing rhythm, a medium swing rhythm, a slow swing rhythm, and I let them run for like 20 minutes. Just let it run for 20 minutes. Switch to another one, because for me, swinging gives me a better facility for my timing. And I'm always working to make my timing better. Outside of that, I'm a chord fiend. I just love chords. I love harmonies. That's why I love stuff like Stevie Wonder and the Carpenters and Gino Vanelli, because the chords, these guys, chords. And those two things, my timing and chords really help me with other gigs that they're not going to go that crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody jump in? Feel free.
I think for me, I think one of the things that has changed, let me see if I can try to make a little bit, say how has it changed over the years? For me, the older that I've gotten, when I was your age, when I was 10 years old, when I was your age, and I'm saying that facetiously. I know you're not 10, brother. But when I was much younger, practice for me involved, I was rehearsing with David Miles every Tuesday night. So, we had to learn certain songs, and that involved, listening and really trying to hone these guys, to really sharpen these guys. I found that for me, as I've gotten older, that, some of the facility that I used to be able to do when I was your age, that, my brain tells my hands to do it, but sometimes my hands will not respond. So what I've had to do is more of physical practice, in terms of maybe I had to squeeze tennis balls. And sometimes I've actually had to go back and revisit my handing exercises that I used to do back in the day to really keep the dexterity that I know that I need to have, especially when I'm playing organ. When I was your age, I could hold quarter note equals 250, 300, 315 for like ever.
Wow.
I mean, Phil will tell you, when I first came into the boardroom, I could
kick down the front door,
kick, just whipping through tempos. But now, my left hand doesn't respond like it used to. So in terms of how it's changed over the years from a physical point of view, I've noticed that I've had to do a lot more physical exercise to keep up the dexterity, and to keep up more often. I mean, I think more important than that, the stamina that I used to have. So that's how it's changed for me. The wonderful thing is that other thing that has changed is that, because now that we have this wonderful thing called YouTube, that we can now go to YouTube, and I can go back and look at all of those Jimmy Smith videos that I had never seen before. They weren't available. Right. It just, I mean, they were there, but we just didn't see them. Right.
Right.
And being able to go back and or even not necessarily a video, but go back to those recordings, and we can hit this wonderful thing called 50% and 75%, and you can slow, you can, you ain't got to buy a machine no more. We can go there and we can listen to certain things, certain passages, certain chords, certain runs that we think are cool, and we can slow those things down in the same key.
I've got to say, man, YouTube is a musician's friend.
Oh, hey, look here.
I mean, I've run gigs where I've had to pull up a song right before we played it.
Yeah, right.
Right, because see, Brendan, when we were your age, man, you had to go to a record store, and you either had to be lucky enough to record it off of the radio, or you had to go to a record store, and sometimes you had to buy a whole record just to learn one song.
Or you call up somebody and ask them, borrow their records.
Right. Yeah, okay, that's another one, Charles. Yes, Charles.
Dub.
Yes. Oh, say that again, Christian.
A cassette dub from a friend of a friend of a friend. That's I had a McDuff mixtape that was like, I had no idea where these songs came from, and it was like it'd been recorded 3 or 4 times. It was the greatest thing in my life. But now you can just pull it up. But I had gotten it from a friend, so it's like, Leonard King used to make me cassettes every week when we go to rehearsal.
Wow.
Of different
Talk
stuff
about it, Christian. Talk about it, Christian.
And it was like, that's how you got it. Because you couldn't go and buy a Jan Hammer record in the store. He gave me like Jan Hammer trio, organ trio records. Like it's hard to find, but you can do it. But I would say one thing too about practicing now, like if I learn a standard through YouTube now, I will listen to like 7 or 8 different versions of a tune now. I'm learning it by ear.
Yes.
I think that's really helpful. Like I used to have to, you look at a chart and whatever, but now when I'm learning a new tune, I will listen to a version, then listen to another version, version. They're in different keys. It really helps you learn the song, and then you can learn all the alternate changes that other people use. So
and I think that also help. That improves your improvisation too. When the more melodies that you learn, the more ideas that it will give you for improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
That's really helped me. The more melodies you learn, that's just more. That's just more. The more stuff that you have in your toolbox, as Marcus Miller says.
And Behringer, Oscar Behringer too, which I just got hip to again. I think it was Ian Finkelstein posted about that. I've been a Hannon guy for years, but Behringer and I watched that Herbie Hancock masterclass. He talks about that, which got me doing it again. So I worked through the first 24 or 5 exercises of that, and that is a butt kicker, and it's great because you play in every key on every exercise. You might be hip to it or not, I don't know. But
I'm not. Who is this?
Oscar Behringer. He's like around the turn of the century, and the stuff. I'll just give you, it's like he'll do like.
Oh yeah, the exercise.
And he go through every key in every exercise.
Jesus.
So it's like Hannon, you'd have to do one, and then it's like I used to do a thing with Hannon where I would do a different key every day of the week for Hannon. I'd start, okay, I'm going to do all my Hannons 1 through 40 or whatever in C or D flat or whatever. And that helped, but it was like mind numbing. What I like about Behringer is that it gets you through every key, every finger, and they're like always mirrored image. So check it out. You can find the PDF online for free. I did Oscar Behringer exercise.
Can you spell his last name, Chris?
Behringer. Like almost like the musical equipment company. But
the H.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there is a bit H. You're right. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I like your setup, Chris. I know you're set up. You're set up for teaching and everything. That's great.
That's what I do. I got it's the Chordy app, which basically allows you to have a MIDI keyboard. Now, I think I closed it, and it's not. It'll come. It would normally be playing the thing on because I'm running I got a Mac Pro from 2008. So if it slows down, it's because I'm like making it do things it shouldn't be doing. It's running High Sierra. That's the other thing. My nerd propeller got spinning since the pandemic, and I've learned how to do try to make the most of what I can because there were no gigs coming in, and so I'm using a 2008 3.1 Mac Pro, but I'm like running higher operating systems and making it do things it can't do, but it slows down. So
okay, we got about 6 minutes left. And
Jesus, where'd the time go?
I know it's just right on through. We had certain questions on the floor, and I'm looking at them. And I look at Giselle; she's giving me something here. Do you like playing in intimate venues like the Dirty Dog, which is a listening venue, or places like Cliff Bell's where sometimes the crowd is not listening? What do you think? Okay, anybody want to
Listening.
take that? We love the very intimate listening. I'm just going to jump.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all like intimate listening because that means that whatever you think you're there to do,
yeah,
they're there to hear it, and they're not going to talk all over you.
Mhm.
And in the noisier places, you really kind of plan to yourself and to your band.
Yeah,
But,
that's a drag.
Another thing too, that is, as a keyboard player, if you know, especially if you're playing piano, I mean, if you're playing a keyboard, you can just turn up on infinitum if you want to do the sound wars. But
right.
you know, if you're playing piano, I mean, you've got this to compete with,
right.
You know, a drummer like that, and it's like it's really hard for me. I prefer to have it at a medium volume where I can hear myself. I could take some leeway with what I'm doing, because I started out, kind of going back to the question about how's your practice changed. Of course, in the beginning, I was just trying to learn the language, and I was just relentless about it. 8 up to 12 hours a day, I would just get mad. And I lived in a building. I was living in places where people tolerated it. It was amazing. I've only had 2 neighbors in my entire life that complained. I used to practice just, up to 12 hours a day because I wanted to do this, but at a certain point, I had a fairly heavy touch, and I had to learn that lesson about get out of the bass player's way.
Right.
And so one of the things that I've really developed, when I have to play hard again, like when I'm rocking a salsa band or something like that's a whole thing. Or I like playing funky music. That's just joy. But if I'm really trying to execute lines, that's a thing. I had to really change. I don't know that, I worked very hard to change my touch to get an elegant and smooth touch. And if I'm fighting for volume, then it really, I find that my fluency suffers because the automatic reaction is to press harder to get more sound. And I don't really think that I should have to do that.
Yeah.
So,
well, Jaribu,
especially if I'm playing acoustic piano.
He states right here that noisy bars can destroy your dynamics. There's nothing truer than that. That's very much true. Mm-hmm. You have no dynamics if you're only playing loud to be heard. So there's no fun in that.
And you are speaking a language, and so you don't want to be speaking monotone. So that's my 2 cents on it. Especially when I'm playing piano.
I'm sorry. Here's what I was saying in closing. We only got a couple of minutes left, so if everybody can just toss in, who's your favorite influence? Who's your number 1 influence? Just give a couple. Just you don't have to take a lot of.
Powell.
But who's your guy?
Bud Powell.
Bud Powell.
Joseph Zawinul.
Joseph Zawinul.
The mid-50s players, Gene Harris, Wynton Kelly,
Gene Harris.
Red Garland.
Yeah, Red Garland, that's my guy.
All that, yeah.
Chick Corea and Mulgrew Miller are my guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
For me, it's Richard Groove Holmes, Chick Corea, George Duke, and I would also have to. I can't leave out Herbie.
I was gonna say, you gotta say Hancock.
Herbie's kind of unspoken. You're just like, yeah, of course, Herbie.
Yeah.
No, he's my definite spoken.
Elton John was someone that influenced me too.
Herbie.
I gotta say Red Garland too. That's a bebop fool right there. Bebop
Earl Garner.
Herbie is my definite spoken guy. I like Herbie Hancock, but my musician of the 20th century is Miles Davis. He's gone through everybody. And the influence gives me a whole lot of places to go. So.
I thought we were talking about piano players here.
And my favorite band is the 60s Miles Band. So there's a lot of beauty out there. Did you toss into the kitty there, Chris?
I would say, Errol Garner, I really love because he always makes me happy. There's something about listening to Errol Garner.
He had the joy. He had the joy.
And Jad McDuff, just because of his groups and his spirit, one of my favorite organs. Charles Earland too, even though his facility maybe not as much as some of the groove that he had.
Oh God, yes,
unmistakable. And then on piano players, Bobby Timmons. I really like I'm like that blues. Like Charles said, Gene Harris is one of my favorites. Oscar Peterson, though I could only ever hope to play a 1% of what he can do. But Night Train, one of my top 10 records.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming through.
And thank you.
And the keyboard panel night, man. I've had a great time.
Hey, let's do this again sometime.
We got to do this again. For real.
Yeah.
We thank City of Arts. That's me and my wife. We're putting this together because we like we are trying to make it where different musicians can come together and create things that are a little different than the norm. We don't necessarily just want to go back and be a bunch of bar guys. You know, we want to get together and create new relationships and new ways to come and bring our music to the world. And so these kind of discussions are a way to open that thing up, and we'll find our way around. We'll find our way around. And it's by everybody coming together. So we appreciate everybody coming. Sheila, you want to say something?
Yeah, again, thank you. And I want to just talk about tomorrow at 1 to 3, our business panel discussion is the purpose and effects of music education, and the healing power of music. So we have a brother that has the healing bowls and all of that. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, you see that Marion has been hanging with us. I told her, I said, just sit in, then you'll know what's going on, what's going to happen tomorrow. So we have, let me see, Carrie Lacey is our moderator, and
got Ibrahim Jones,
Chuck
Bartels, Ralph Armstrong, Marion Hayton, and Jaribu Shahid. We'll finally get to hear him talking.
Yeah, so that's tomorrow evening, and at 9 o'clock when we finish, which is right now, we're going to start music. Some of you might be on this jukebox that Phillip created of all of your music and stuff. So hang with us.
Cool.
And we are going to do a lot more. This is just the beginning. We're not going to be doing stuff and then stop it. We got to build on this.
Yeah,
we're going to build on it. So thank you. We love you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Love everybody.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Phil. Love y'all.
Great seeing everybody. Okay.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
See y'all later.
Thank you.
Peace.
Love for sale, appetizing young. Love for sale, love that's fresh and still unspoiled. Love that's only slightly soiled. Love for sale. Who will buy? Who will like to sample my supply? Who's prepared to pay the price on a trip to paradise? Oh, love for sale. Let the boys pipe of love in their childish ways. I know every type of love better far than they. If you want the thrills of love, I've been through the many meals of love. Oh, love, new love, every single love. Ooh, love for sale. Advertising young love for sale. If you want to buy my wares, follow me and climb the stairs. Oh, love for sale. that's only slightly so your love. Oh, say. Now, who will buy? Who would like to sample my supply? Who's prepared to pay the price on a trip to paradise? Oh, love, oh, say. Like the poet's pipe of love in their childish ways. I know every type of love better far than they. If you want the thrills of love, I've been to the many meals of love. Oh, love, no love, every single love, but trouble do love for sale. Advertising young love for sale. If you want to buy my wares, follow me, climb the stairs. Oh, my love, for sale. Oh, love, love in the morning. Love, love in the afternoon. Love, love in the evening time. Oh, love, love by 3 a.m. in the morning. Love, 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 love. Oh, say, oh, love, oh, say, oh, love, love, oh, say.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime. Written right here in the Motor City. Goes a little something like this. My heart is crying, crying, all the teardrops. I will never dry, baby, all the teardrops. From up, down, just say you will, say you will, say you will, say my heart is crying, crying, along the teardrops, like they'll never dry, baby, along the teardrops. hometown, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Yeah.
and lovely bodies all around me start to sway about as though they're in a deep trance. Our eyes meet. One look and I'm on my feet. You motion to me closely and I follow you in time with only your one glance. Across the floor, we move as two that think as one. The music's roar fills me with a new sensation of love. The rhythms exciting, the melodies inviting me to this rendezvous with you. Love, love, can it be love? Our souls meet. My heart skips a brand new beat. And then I knew this moment was a prelude to romance, and we were in a love dance. As one, the music's roar fills me with a new sensation of love. The rhythms exciting, the melodies inviting me to this rendezvous with you. Love, love, can it be? Souls meet. My heart skips a brand new beat. And then I knew this moment was a prelude to romance, and we were in a love dance. In a love
whisper in my ear, tell me that you love me. How, how. Oh, yeah.
And it just seemed like they wanted me to be somebody who I wasn't, you know. So I left that meeting and I started to write this song right here. And I knew I wanted to do something different. I knew I had to maybe get away from LA, get my mind back to what made me fall in love with music in the first place, you know. So I moved back to New Orleans, my hometown, and started to get back to myself again. And I decided I was gonna be myself. But when I was back in LA, they say stuff like this. PJ, you're not mainstream enough. Would you consider us changing some stuff? Oh, like everything about who you are. No offense, we're just trying to make you a star. But I must admit, claustrophobic, I have a hard time trying to fit into your small mind. And I have a habit of dreaming bigger than anything I can see right in front of me. They say, PJ, you're not quite street enough. Thug life, my nigga, act a little more tough. Oh, and can you switch your style up a little more? Oh, yeah. You can be yourself later, but now we need the radio. But I must admit, claustrophobic, I have a hard time trying to fit into your small mind. And I have a habit of dreaming bigger than anything I can see right in front of me. Can't see the forest for the trees, the movement for the breeze on my own feet. Can't see what you might want from me. Think it's better if we be ourselves. They clutch into my talents more than Catholics to a rosary. Steady hands, wedded accent, travel you from New Orleans. Oh, so why I dabble with negative energy when all I really think is a positive sensibility? Not the hardest rapper, but I'm about as much as Master P, don't play with me. 504 my home, don't you know that? Strolling through the street, you should probably take a Kodak. Photosynthesized, spotting right in front of your eyes. Made a trip to Cali, came back a different guy. Living through the same eyes, riding Uber, still got drive. Been the truest, never lie. But I need a little space, cause I'm better doing me. Just recite if you relate, yeah. Claustrophobic, I have a hard time trying to fit into your small mind. And I have a habit of dreaming bigger than anything I can see right in front of me.
The rules I tend to bend do not define me. So either get beside me or Satan get behind me. You let her point out all the wrongs, right? That's a day job, that's a long night, but it's show life. What's the point that I'm missing? Tell me the point of your mission. Now I don't know why you so cold. I saw you grow by with your robe. You look right through me in my whole life, but it's all good though. God still love me like I'm kinfolk. I might break, but I won't bend no. Give my sins, Lord.
I don't think I like you. It's your own fault. Where is the love that your God spoke of? You got nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Yeah. Nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. That's what you were told. Let's just be honest. Oh, no, no. You didn't even take the time to find it yourself. You just took their words to be true. Oh, you don't even know why you believe what you do. But you blame your God. It's your own fault. Where is the love that your God spoke of? You got nothing to do